All right, we are live. What is up, everybody? How are we doing? How we doing? How we doing? Good to see all of you here. Hopefully you guys all had a good week and a good Friday so far. The day's not over yet. Let's see, though. I have the chat on, but I want to turn the right chat on so it appears, because right now it's not on the screen. Salam alaikum. What's going on? What's going on? I see some of you guys giving me salam in the chat. All right, yeah, it's white. What's going on here? Let me try and fix this really quick. All right, great. So it's literally... Damn, I guess I'll just have to put it here. I'll put it there, whatever. Anyways, good to see all of you. Good to see all of you. Hopefully you guys had a good day. I know I said that already, but we had a mishap. The chat's going to have to stay white. Sorry, it's going to be hard to read. I don't know what to do. I don't have time to fix that right now while I'm live. So it is what it is. We'll fix that for next time. But hopefully, this is not a bad time to start the stream. I was thinking all day today, like, man, I want to go live. But I know tonight is going to be after hours. My brother's going to go live, but I still want to get a stream in before he does. So I'm like, you know what? Let me just go after work. I went to gym. I sound English, right? I went to the gym very early today, around noon during my lunch break. And so I was able to get that out of the way. And so that I can have some time to actually jump on stream and converse with all of you, aka just monologue as you guys sit here and listen and go over the news. And I wouldn't have done this otherwise, but there is some pretty dense news. A lot of crazy things have happened in the last 48 hours alone. And so I want to make sure I'm on top of that and go over a lot of these things, especially since I think my opinion is contrary to many Muslims' opinions, which is not a good thing. And I'll go in depth and in detail about how I feel about the whole situation in Spain. And honestly, I'll just go over that now, or at least I'll give you the brief introduction. If you didn't see, north of 40,000 Moroccan migrants hopped over the Spain border in North Africa, the Spanish enclave known as Ceuta. This is on the North African coast, so it's still within the continent of Africa, in North Africa. It's not actually inland Spain, as many people may have thought when they saw the videos on X. However, it is still Spanish territory. Now, is it a territorial dispute between Morocco and Spain? Yes, and it's been ongoing for nearly 600 years. And so I understand that, but in light of that, it still doesn't negate all the things that I'm going to go over and the issues with that migration, or really that invasion, because that's what it was. If you didn't see the videos, we'll go over them. We'll look at them right now on stream, and you'll see exactly why. What had happened was not conducive to any positivity in the future, nor was it beneficial for anyone. Rather, it was something that concerns me, because that's something that would radicalize someone. That's something that would radicalize Europeans, Spaniards, and they've already kind of walked that tightrope of dealing with kind of accepting people migrating into their country at large numbers due to their government, but then also fighting back and potentially even being violent. And so there's a tightrope that a lot of Europeans are walking, and I feel like everything just spilled over because of this incident in Spain. And so I am fearful of that. I'm concerned of some sort of civil unrest and or civil war at some point in the future with Europe. Europe is facing a serious immigration crisis, migration crisis. And it's not the Muslims' fault. It's not the North Africans' fault. It is the government's fault. It's the EU's fault. But they accept this. Many countries have very loose and generous policies towards migration, like Germany. Poland is actually excluded from this, but like Germany, like France, like Spain, like the United Kingdom. And so this has caused a lot of issues throughout the Eastern world. And we'll get into all the details and everything like that. And then Iran, I'll go over Iran as well. That war is just never going to end, bro, okay? It's cooked in Iran, honestly. Honestly. Every single day, the developments just get worse and worse. It's like escalation after escalation after escalation. And at some point, we've got to, like, you know, recognize this is a forever war. This is not, like, going to end tomorrow or in a couple weeks. And it's obvious that midterms don't even strike Trump as worrying, right? Before, in February and March and April, May, we were talking about how this war would likely end in the middle of the summer, like August, July, right around now, because Trump would try and save face and repair his diplomatic relationship with Iran, at least to some degree, or fix the foreign adversary issue to some degree. so that when he rolls around to midterms, he's not dealing with so much stress and headache and talking points that is going to be weaponized by the Democrats or anybody else opposing him. And it seems like all of the House is going to flip now. It's going to be all Democrats, and that's just because this war has been disastrous. Start to finish, it's done nothing for the United States. It's plummeted our reserves. It's put our Gulf allies in very compromising positions that they've never been in before, to the point where Saudi Arabia, and I believe 13 other countries now, have built a coalition against Iran, blocking the Red Sea via the Houthis, their proxy. And of those countries consist of some really random ones no one expected, like Djibouti. I think Sudan's on there. And so this is just turning into more and more of an involved regional mess. And the Gulf allies have no choice but to really pull in and fight with the United States. NATO is even flirting with the idea of getting involved as well. At least that's what it seems like vaguely, because Ukraine is hitting Iranian vessels and cargo ships in the Caspian Sea, which has never been an area for conflict throughout this entire war. So that's also concerning as well. And that's also another major escalation. Now, it seems like the foreign minister of Iran took the high road with that. There's no chip on Iran's shoulder in regards to that. And that's probably because they know it's beneficial for Ukraine to drag this war into the Eastern Europe conflict and make it all one big mess. And that's what Zelensky wants, right? But because Zelensky and Netanyahu are obsessed with continuous conflict, they don't want to pause to the hostilities. That wouldn't be good for their political careers, especially Netanyahu coming in October with the Israeli elections and their change in bureaucracy, or however that works. But yeah, so we'll do all of that. We'll read all of that. But yeah, this thing in Spain was crazy. I saw one video. This was yesterday. I saw one video and I was like, okay, this is fake. I swear to God, I saw one video and I was like, okay, this is not real. Like, I was going down my X timeline, and I think it was Bricks News, one of the major pages that reported on it first, and I saw the video of like thousands of Moroccans just flooding into this coastal city. And I'm like, there's no way. That's impossible. Obviously, there's border police, there's control, there's a gate, there's a fence. Like, there's no way that they're just like able to do that. You know what I mean? It was just inconceivable at the time. I thought it was like AI or something. I couldn't believe it. And lo and behold, I actually look it up. I verify it. Several outlets have reported on it. There's videos all over X at this point. And you couldn't avoid it on your timeline yesterday if you looked at it. American media even covered it. Fox News was all over it. And what did they say? This is what the United States would look like if Democrats take control. Of course, they jumped on that talking point very quickly, Trump included. He was saying that, I believe, today and yesterday. So it's true. I mean, that's right. But a lot of things with that conflict as well. And of course, the fact that Israel is involved. When are they not involved? And people are going to say, you're a kook. You're crazy. You have Israel derangement syndrome. How could Israel be involved in the situation with Spain and Morocco? You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. Spain has been a nation that has condemned the military action in Gaza and the West Bank, by the way, for a very long time. Spain has never supported Israel diplomatically and has called it a genocide in some vague ways at many points. The people in Spain also stand with the Palestinian people. One of the few countries in Europe that have been explicit in their position against Israel and their onslaught militarily against Gaza and the Gaza Strip ever since October 7th. And as a result, this has provoked Benjamin Netanyahu. This has provoked American officials, American politicians in the Senate, Donald Trump, Marco Rubio. No one likes Spain because of it. And so could this have been a punishment? Could this have been retribution for condemning the genocide? And by the way, Spain was one of the countries that was very vocal against Trump's war in Iran as well. When Trump called on all the NATO countries on Truth Social to get involved, otherwise you're paper tigers, and help me out in the Strait of Hormuz because I started a problem I can't finish, all of the NATO countries were largely silent. Obviously, Germany had their comments that Trump didn't like, so he pulled troops out of Germany in a very petty manner, very like Trump. And also Spain was like, we're not doing that. Spain and Italy had joined each other in that statement, and they said, we're not doing that, and you need to end this war because you don't know what you're doing. And of course, the United States, really Trump and this administration, had known that they owed Spain one. And so there's some conspiratorial element to this. I'm not saying it's proven, but I mean, one just has to reasonably speculate there has to be Israeli involvement in this. Ben Gvir today let out a tweet. And I guess we'll just get straight into it. Ben Gvir let out a tweet the security minister, the national security minister for Israel. And can you believe that he cheered the invasion on? In what world would that make any sense, right? I thought Israel was right wing. I thought Israel doesn't like immigration. And so take a look at this. Ben Gvir, he says this today at 9 a.m. in the morning. My congratulations to the president of the government of Spain, Pedro Sanchez, for his profound commitment to welcoming immigration and human diversity. As someone who demonstrates great concern for Hamas and the residents of Gaza, I call on you to translate words into actions, open the doors of Spain, and grant refuge to the residents of Gaza who seek to emigrate. This is an excellent opportunity to contribute a little more to Spain's human diversity. Then he puts, and it's like, this is such a slap in the face. And why? Why, right? Because obviously Pedro Sanchez, who is the prime minister of Spain, is very left-wing. He's pretty much a socialist. And, you know, it's because no one in Europe is happy about this. The world is not happy about this. And there's been global condemnation to these videos that have surfaced as a result. And these videos are unnerving. I tweeted that. I said, this is unnerving. And it doesn't, and here's the problem. People get so emotionally vested into the situation, and they say, well, these people come from poor countries and, you know, they just want a better life. And so I understand that. Obviously, that's why borders need to be enforced, because if they're not, people will try and seize the opportunity of a better life, like we saw here in the United States under the Biden administration. For those 4 years, nearly 10 million, if not more, illegal, undocumented immigrants hopped the border and came into the country and are still here. Many of them have not been sent back. And so it's the same situation in Spain, except they got 49,000 in a matter of a few hours, which is unbelievable. That is asinine. And so, you know, at what point is there law and order? At what point is there structure? People try to make this a religious thing. Oh, it's Muslims. Oh, it doesn't matter if it's aliens. It doesn't matter if it's anybody. And it doesn't matter if it's Muslims going into a white country or Indians going into an Asian country or Asians going into a black country. No one wants to see their country receive 50,000 unfamiliar people all at once that come from a third world country that is shit. I think the GDP in Morocco is $3,600. And by the way, I've been to Morocco. I love Morocco. I've been to Marrakech. I've been to Essaouira. It's a nice little tourist spot. It's a nice little destination, but it is by all means a third world poor country. And the people there, a lot of them do suffer. No matter where they're located, a lot of people don't live the best lives there. Poverty is through the roof in Morocco. And so I don't have a problem with the Moroccan people or Morocco as a whole, but we know the government is cucked out. And we know the government is also closely aligned with Israel. They've signed the Abraham Accords from 2020, which is pretty much a cuck deal where any country that signs that dotted line on that contract is recognizing and formalizing diplomatic relations with Israel in every way possible. And Morocco has been closely aligned with Israel and the Jewish people for many, many years prior to the Abraham Accords. The Abraham Accords just made it official on paper, but that relationship has existed for a long time prior to that. There's tons of Jewish enclaves in Morocco as well. And so you think about this and the fact that the Moroccans were actually the ones that allowed these. Let's see where we're at here. But hopefully you guys had a good day. Hopefully you guys had Good Friday. It's gorgeous here in CT in Connecticut. The camera's kind of cooked, but you know what? I thought about something. Actually, I won't say that on stream. But yeah, I don't mind. I'll say it. It's whatever. So I adjusted the ISO so that you can barely see outside, but that's better just so like people can't pinpoint my location. But yeah, it's nice out. It's pretty sunny. It's been raining all week, so I'm very appreciative of this weather. But yeah. Unknown says, Wallahi, I love you for the sake of Allah. I love you too. Please don't support Fuentes. He's mocked our prophet multiple times. Okay, thank you for that. Unknown says, also Islamic stream anytime soon. May Allah bless you. Islamic stream? I mean, I don't know what I would talk about. Islamic stream? Maybe. What could I cover? I was speaking about sectarianism the other day, and bro, God forbid. All I said on, yo, bro, I was talking about how a lot of the Gulf countries are cucked for Israel. And that introduces an issue to the creed of Salafiyya. I shouldn't even bring this up again, but it's whatever. I've dug my own grave already. And so I said, you know, there's a state-sponsored element to Salafiyya. You have to be careful about some of the fatwa that you get from some of the scholars. And, bro, I went in my ex-DM. What the fuck? I did not know I had a Salafi following. I did not know I had rigid Islamic scholarship following. Riyadh, how could you say that? You sound like a Rafida. You sound like a Shia. I'm like, whoa. I'm like, where did you niggas come from? You guys watch me? And it's probably because I have the opinion that you shouldn't pray in Times Square. And that's an opinion that's more related to like a very strict Orthodox Salafi type perspective of Islam. Because all the same Salafi scholars or students of knowledge say the same thing. Like Hassan Somali, I think he's a student of knowledge and a da'i out of Philadelphia. He says the same thing. Ahlus Sunnah Masjid in Fort Worth, I think it was, in Texas, or one of those mosques in Texas, released the condemnation of the prayer in a very kind way. And many other people who are rigid in Islam said that's not correct. Sheikh Mason, I think his name is, he studied under the Mufti of Saudi Arabia, Sheikh Ibn Baz, Ibn Uthaymeen, I believe he studied under as well in Medina for 19 years. He is now a scholar in Michigan, and he does dars, he does lessons every Friday, I think, or every other, whatever. I don't know what his schedule is. And he told his students praying in Times Square is inappropriate. And so I think my opinion of that garnered like this very rigid Salafi following. And it's like, guys, I'm not that. Like, look, I'm not saying Salafi is wrong. Like, I don't even want to do the sect thing. I'm Muslim. But like, guys, like maybe you're in the wrong place. Okay, I'm not super strict, rigid. Like, I'll wear pants below the ankles. I don't think that's haram. You get what I'm saying? So like, I'm not. You get what I mean? So that was really crazy. I saw my ex DMs. Riyadh, blow me up. If you're a Christian, you're probably so lost. But yeah, if you're a Muslim, you know what I mean. Riyadh, what the hell? I'm like, guys, okay, let's get a grip. Anyways, John says, your mate Mini Marco Jubio is behind the Spain-Morocco thing. Yeah. I know. We'll get into it. Nikita says, is Sneeko rage baiting with these leftist ex-posts lately? Yeah, it's rage bait. We had a conversation on the phone the other day. He's rage baiting, but you know, I think there's a limit to that. But he's gonna do it. He's gonna do what he wants to do. But yeah, a lot of it is rage bait. Of course it is. I'm lagging a lot. Chat, am I lagging? One's in the chat if everything is good. One's in the chat if everything is smooth. We're all good, right? Stream is perfect for me. Okay, thank you, One Chest. Let's get some ones in here. There's such a chat delay, dude. I gotta watch this on YouTube itself. Chat, am I... Okay. Alright. I'm good now. I was lagging for a second. Okay. Alright. Hey, Juma Mubarak. This nigga's name is Hamas Scraper. Anyways, alright, if you spam too, I'm gonna kick you out. Why are you being a goof? Alright, we're all good. Alright. There's a lot of like trolls in the chat on YouTube about audio and stuff and quality. You guys need to be banished. You niggas are the worst. I was lagging before. Okay, hopefully I'm not lagging. It says my stream health is excellent. Why am I here in the middle of the day? I saw you ask that. I don't know. Because my brother's going to be live later. That's why. I think it's just the position of the mic. What do you mean the position of the mic? All right, guys. I'm going to do the stream. And I'll have my trusted people text me if there's an issue. You fucking trolls. Anyways. So, yeah, that's the situation. When's the AK call collab? Whenever. We got to do it soon, inshallah. Spain got invaded by 60,000 Moroccans. I know. So, all right. We'll start from the top. Because I was kind of all over the place there. Okay, people are saying I'm good now. We'll start from the top. Obviously, yesterday, if you didn't see, 49,000 Moroccan migrants jumped the border and went into a coastal city, a Spanish enclave, belonging to Spain officially. Not recognized by Morocco, and now conveniently not recognized by the United States for their own interests, not because they actually care about Morocco, they actually care about opposing anybody who opposes Israel. But these 50,000 Moroccan migrants jumped over the fence. And the videos are disturbing. So let's take a look at many of these videos here. I have a bunch queued up, and I'm imagining many of you saw the videos already, but if you didn't, we'll just take a look together to really set the scene. And for anybody who hasn't been paying attention the last 24 or 48 hours. So here we have illegal immigrants celebrate after successfully breaking into Spain. Look at how many people this is. Thousands and thousands pouring in. And the videos, by the way, are endless. Here's the next video. Coming out of the water after their swim. Got more videos here. You can see them all walking along the coastline. I mean, just easily thousands of them. Tens of thousands of Moroccan migrants.
Chaos at the border.
Fox News reported on it.
Enclave in Morocco. This is a city called Ceuta. You're watching as thousands of migrants break through the fence and completely overwhelm the border police. Their video showing huge groups of people, mostly young military-age guys, cramming into inflatable tubes or arriving on shore another way, some of them wading in the water as they break through the gates to get to the other side. Sandra, this is reminiscent of kind of what we saw during the open border during the Biden administration through 2021, 2024, kind of similar to what we saw in Del Rio back.
Really, really crazy stuff. Here's another video. You can click, and this video is really, really crazy. I mean, this is visceral. Could you imagine you're in Spain? You're in this coastal city in Spain, a coastal city that's been controlled by Spain for nearly 500 or 600 years. Obviously, there's a frozen territorial dispute. Morocco claims it's their land, whatever. And you look outside your window and you see this. This is warranted? Thousands and thousands of undocumented, might I add, most of them military-aged men. I saw one video of a female hopping a wall and then falling down and hitting her head. That was about it. I haven't seen anything other than around 17 or 16 to 40-year-old aged men celebrating and gloating over crossing the border and getting into Spain. And then here's a video of the response by the government of Ceuta.
Voy a dar lectura.
And this is in Spanish, but we can just read over the captions and I'll speed it up so I don't have to speak at extremely slow speeds. So he says, today by the Board of Spokespersons, an agreement that was unanimously approved by all the spokespersons, it reads as follows. The Board of Spokespersons, in an extraordinary and urgent meeting held today, July 30th, 2026, in light of a qualitative leap in the persistent, massive influx of migrants into our city, which has been exacerbated in recent hours by the mass entry on foot bypassing the Tarjar border and the water, considers it urgent and unavoidable for the national government to adopt the following measures. 1, the declaration of national emergency under, and so here's the thing too, declaration of national emergency under provisions of national security regulations. They never declared a state of emergency. 40,000 plus, 50,000, 60,000. I'm seeing different numbers. Let's just stick with 50,000 because it rolls off the tongue smoothest. 50,000 plus undocumented migrants jump over the border wall, come out of the water, and crawl into this enclave. No state of emergency, no military mobilization, and we'll get into why I think that is. But, we can keep going here just a little bit. The reinforcement of the state's law enforcement agencies and the deployment of the army to ensure the inviolability of the border and public safety. The closure of the aforementioned border. At the same time, we want to convey a message of serenity and calm to all citizens. Yeah, you're not going to calm people when they're seeing things like that. This is not the first time Ceuta has faced, and this is true, faced an extreme situation like the current one. It's not the first time. Things like this have happened before, but this is by far the worst. But as in previous instances, in this case as well, the people of Ceuta will once again and are already setting an example of maturity, solidarity, and resilience. And I mean, he's saying that, but people were not happy. Take a look at this. So Spaniards are flooding the streets and moving towards the areas where the mass Moroccan migrant surge is concentrated in Ceuta. And like I said, of course, the necessary response that would follow to any sort of mass migration like this is, of course, going to be civil unrest, right? And so some people had their geopolitical opinions. Spain improves diplomatic relations with Algeria. This is true. This is a few days ago. Spain wants to buy more gas via the Medgaz pipeline. Sanchez visits Algeria. Right after the visit to Algeria, Morocco facilitates the mass entry of thousands of Moroccans into the autonomous cities. Yada, 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 diplomatic blackmail, so on and so forth. And then today, actually, so this is the benefit of being a little bit late to the story and covering it, we have a statement now officially from the Prime Minister. This is at 7:50 a.m. this morning. It's obviously in Spanish, but he says, what has happened in an attack on Spain's territorial integrity and deserves our most resounding and energetic condemnation. All of Spain stands with the people of Ceuta. The government of Spain stands with the autonomous city. Thank you for the cooperation that we have always maintained with the city government. We will use all the resources of the state, guarantee security and coexistence, and our total and resounding commitment to the future of the autonomous city of Ceuta. And this is him releasing the statement here. Elon Musk responds, when you offer Spanish citizenship to invaders, you get more invaders. And so, look, and just to contextualize all of this, because this is an argument that I see a lot from maybe Moroccans or something like that. I'll quickly pull up a map because a lot of you guys probably don't know exactly what I mean when I'm explaining how this is a coastal city that is on North African land. So this is Spain. This is the Gibraltar Strait. This is Spain right here, okay? Or sorry, this is Morocco, and this is Spain, okay? Right where North Africa and Europe almost meet. And this is Ceuta. So this is the coastal city that Spain has had control of for 600-ish years, give or take, since 1400s. I think 1415, 1417, if I remember it correctly. And so this has largely been considered Spaniard territory by most of the world. Of course, Morocco argues it's their territory because they had control of it prior with the Muslim Sultanate, but that has changed ever since, and that's just the way history works. Borders change all the time. They're ever evolving. But I go over here and I let out this tweet because I was just shocked and appalled at some of the Muslim response. So I'll read the tweet and then I'll kind of go off of my thoughts from here. I said some of these migrants are literally attempting to break into homes, and yes, that's true. Look at this video here. And whether this is a government building or a home, whatever it is, this is unacceptable and violent, disgusting, detestable behavior. Trying to open up some window or gated window, whatever it is. And so there was videos like this all over social media. And so I said, some of these migrants are literally attempting to break into homes, yet some of you are telling me it's occupied land though. What about this is justified, peaceful, organized, or useful? Some of you still find some way to defend it because you have no critical thinking capability, only processing the situation with your feelings. Exactly where do we go with this anti-colonialism mindset? By that logic, every disenfranchised group of people reserved the right to do this against their alleged occupiers, and what would the world look like then? That unlimited principle leads to absurd conclusions. Brutal military occupation is a different story, not continuous Portuguese/Spanish control of a coastal city for 600 years. This is a frozen territorial dispute. People need to immigrate properly and legally. This style of mass migration quite literally helps no one. It's asinine. I need to even spell this out. Do nations not reserve the right to expect controlled and enforced borders? The main party to blame is, of course, the government, but don't go defending this and not expect outrage. We need objectivity. Spain has several times condemned the genocide in Gaza, and many of the people stand with our beloved Palestine. In return, we should exchange pragmatism and decency. And so I let out that tweet, and this was in response to a lot of people that I was noticing on the timeline were almost supporting the migration and this pretty much what was an invasion. That's what it was. And so now there's been this negative connotation with the word invasion, right? Like, oh, how could you call it an invasion? You're a white supremacist. I'm sorry, if that's not an invasion, what is? If that's not an invasion, what necessitates an invasion? Oh, do they need to have guns next time? Do they need to have weapons? Do they need to have knives? Do they need to be bloodlusted and screaming and angry looking to conquer? An invasion, I think the only thing that necessitates an invasion is tens of thousands of people turning up somewhere and planning to stay where they were never invited previously. That's an invasion. And that's exactly what we saw yesterday. So whether it's Muslims invading, or it's Jews invading, or it's Asians, or it's Hindus, or it's Christians, that's actually irrelevant. The problem is a lot of people who don't belong in a territory that they're not invited to are invading in large numbers. And so people say, but it's Morocco's territory as well as the other one on the coast. Okay, if we apply that rule, and so you have to be consistent if that's your standpoint, if that's your world view, if we apply that rule to every other country, what happens then? What happens to Istanbul and Constantinople? What happens to all the other cities and the territories that were conquered by different groups throughout history? The world is shaped by borders that have been moving continuously and consistently since... Oh, we may have dropped some frames. I think I just lagged. Am I back? I'm probably back. Yeah, I see. Am I back? Should be back. OBS is so trash, bro. All right, we're back. Good now? Okay, sorry guys. Anyways, what was I saying? I don't even know where I cut off. Let's see. We're good? Get rid of that Starlink. All right, we're good. So as I was saying, you know, obviously there's several angles to this, but on its face, we have to admit this is not ideal, right? And this will only cause more civil unrest. This will only cause more attack on Islam, more fighting, and more subversion and division from the actual issue. By the way, that actual issue is what caused this whole conflict, and that's actually Israel. Okay, Israel had their hand all in this, in my belief. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, you're conspiring, you have no proof for that. But I mean, if you've been paying attention, Trump and Netanyahu have vaguely been flirting with and kind of hinting at the fact that they are going to make Spain pay for being complicit in the situation with respect to Iran. And they are going to make Spain pay for condemning the actions in Iran and make Spain pay for condemning the genocide in Gaza. And so on the American political side, as well as the Zionist side, they were unanimous in agreement that they're going to make Spain pay for something. Netanyahu echoed the similar sentiment, I think, a couple months ago as to where Spain stands in the conflict with Iran as well as Gaza, and how they're a problematic country in Europe and they're too anti-Semitic. And so it just so casually happens to be the case that Morocco, a very closely allied country with Israel, opened up the floodgates for 50,000 migrants to pour into a coastal city in Spain. And so people say, but it's still North Africa. You do realize there's a socialist far left leader of Spain who will eventually offer amnesty, who will eventually offer jobs, subsidiary programs, government support taken by the people's tax dollars for these people, in so that they can eventually earn citizenship and then go anywhere in Europe. You get it, right? So when people say, oh, but it's a coastal city on North Africa, it's not actually inland Europe, it's not on the continent of Europe, that's a moot point. Because it doesn't negate the fact that these people will still be able to obtain citizenship at some point in the future. At least thousands of them will, not all of them, but many of them will, and then travel wherever they want in Europe. And that's just not the way things go. That's not the way things should work. And so people hear me say that and they think, you're anti-immigration. No, I'm not anti-immigration, actually. Immigration has tons of actual net positives, but it needs to be done in a controlled manner. It needs to be done in a legal manner. The same way my parents came here, and the same way many first-gen people exist here today, via their parents coming here legally, waiting their turn, and then eventually producing and adding to the value of the country. And so it's not this whole ethno-nationalism argument. People always misconstrue my position to be that when it's not, and it never was, nor have I ever hinted at that. People say you're a Hitler supporter, you're a Nazi sympathizer. Where did I ever say such a thing? But the problem is people see my talking points being similar to those who say different things, who support nationalism or support maybe the Nazi regime, whatever it is, all these buzz terms, and they think that I'm like some self-race hater. No, I just don't think it's okay for any alienated group of people to pour into a nation at record numbers like that in the matter of less than 24 hours. That's problematic. That helps nobody. No one benefits from that except the migrants. And from what I understand, many of them are likely being sent back now, according to the most latest updates. But more importantly, many of them have died, and they're all going to face civil unrest and backlash and fighting from the people who are native to that land. And they're always going to face this resentment because they never got there the right way. And so I get it. People who live terrible lives in these third world countries are going to try and access first world nations. And so they should, but they should try to do it the right way. So who's to blame here? Is it the migrants? No. And I said this earlier. I said, obviously it's the government. These governments are cucked out. And obviously it's Israel working hand in hand with Morocco to punish Spain for standing in solidarity with Palestine, as well as Morocco punishing Spain for meeting with the leader of Algeria, a sworn enemy of Morocco. But we have to be very careful with this whole migration, immigration thing. We have to straddle a fine line and understand what's right and what's wrong, and what constitutes an actual productive group of people entering a different nation. When the war broke out in Sudan, many Sudanese people had to flee the country because it was a worse humanitarian crisis than the one in Gaza. Did you know that? Over 2 million or around 1.8 million Sudanese people were displaced. The UN is now completely and officially recognizing the situation and the catastrophe in Sudan. And as a result, where did the Sudanese people go? Did they go to Germany? Did they go to France? Did they go to Slovakia, Slovenia, Czech Republic, Switzerland? Did they go to any of these EU countries? No, actually, they went to Egypt. They went just upstairs. They went just north to Egypt, the country that shares a Nile River with them, the country that shares the same religion with them, the country that shares the same language with them, the same culture. Matter of fact, the dialect of Arabic between Egypt and Sudan is quite similar in the Arab world. And so, for all intents and purposes, the Sudanese and the Egyptian people are brothers, aside from maybe the skin variation, Sudanese people being darker. And do you want to know how the Sudanese people were treated when they went to Sudan? The Sudanese people were treated when they went to Egypt like shit. The Egyptian people, some of them, I'll give them their credit, welcomed them with open arms, but many of them were upset that millions or hundreds of thousands of Sudanese were pouring into their country, taking jobs, putting downward pressure on wages, putting pressure on the government, putting pressure on maybe taxes and all these other things. And so they were pissed. And as a result, and I could speak from firsthand experience because of my family who has told me, who has gone to Egypt fleeing the war, they were pissed, and as a result, treated the Sudanese people like shit. They treated them like sewer trash, heaping piles of shit that weren't humans. And these are Arab Muslims migrating to another Arab Muslim country because their country is being fucked by another Arab Muslim country, that being the United Arab Emirates, that funded the proxy group, the Rapid Support Forces, to take over Sudan for the exploitation of natural resources like gold, etc. And so you think about all of this, and it's so messed up on the surface. But the point that I'm trying to make here, and relate it over to Morocco, is if Egyptians won't even accept Sudanese people coming from an actual existential threat they were facing, which was their existence. Morocco is not under military threat. No one's bombing Morocco. No one's killing Moroccans. People were actually killing Sudanese people, women, destroying the villages, destroying infrastructure. And when my people went over to Egypt, everybody told them, get the fuck out. So why exactly should we expect white Europeans to welcome Moroccans into their country? You're out of your fucking mind. You're out of your mind. Mass migration never works. And it's actually the Arab Muslim countries that recognize this intimately. Look at all the Gulf nations. Do you know how hard it is to get citizenship in the UAE? Or in Qatar? Or in Kuwait? Or in Bahrain? Or Saudi Arabia? And it's increasingly becoming easier because they're recognizing they're not going to be able to bank on their oil for so long, because the world will eventually move away from that, and it won't be their hottest commodity driving their economic growth and economic status. And so now immigration laws and policies are becoming slightly looser for Saudi Arabia and investing in real estate as an outsider, et cetera, et cetera. However, for the longest time, it was hard to get into Saudi Arabia even as an Arab Muslim at times. So you look at another country in Europe want to practice their own sovereignty and not want 50,000 people pouring over the border. And I say, yeah, that's actually reasonable. And now it's, you're a race cuck. Now it's, you support whites. Fuck you. Literally, fuck you. This is the most reasonable, decent expectation. This is the most, this position that I hold is by no means extreme. And this is the problem that I'm starting to notice. Muslims are falling for left-wing propaganda left and right, no pun intended, to the point where now we don't even recognize right from wrong. We can't critically think. Everything is emotional. Well, they have bad lives and they're migrants. And That's why we need to unite as a ummah so our countries can be better, so people don't try to flee from them. Morocco is a third world country that has a GDP of around $3,600. People there make nothing. They earn nothing. Their lives are terrible. And as a result, rightfully so, of course they want to flee whenever the chance is presented to them. So I don't even blame the migrants like that, because if there's an open border and I'm in Morocco and I was born in Morocco and I have a shit life, I'm probably going to try to hop that same border as well. So the blame lies on the government. But we also must understand, as an ummah, we should be united in the Middle East so our countries are not so bad to where our populace and our civilization has to run from it to other countries. So people say, okay, then let's unite, Riyadh. All right, well, where do we start? Because the United Arab Emirates is destroying Sudan. Where do we start? Enlighten me. Because Saudi Arabia is bombing Iraq. Where do we start? Because 13 countries just teamed up against Iran because they're operating in the Red Sea and disrupting oil vessels from passing through the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, but they're doing that in defense of their own sovereignty and the existential threat they face from Israel and the United States. So tell me, where do we start? Where do we fucking start? With the unity. All the unity dickheads want to preach to me like I don't know something that they know. Please tell me where we start. Because the problem lies within in the Muslim world, and I'll be the first one to call it out. None of us are aligned. Our countries and our governments are shattered. The diplomatic relations between our countries are shattered to the point where even the Gulf states don't agree with each other. Bahrain has its own goals and own ambitions, but then Saudi Arabia does as well, and Saudi Arabia is battling the UAE for influence in North Africa and in Yemen. That's why the Yemen conflict was so hot. In the beginning of the Yemen conflict, it was the UAE and Saudi Arabia that teamed up against the Houthis and against the Iranian proxies. And slowly but surely, the UAE disenfractured from them and actually started supporting a different group. And then Saudi Arabia and the UAE have been in a shadow proxy war for nearly 10 years now, since 2018 or 2020. So, how about we start with unity so our countries can actually gain some fruits from economic success and prosperity so that they don't have to do things like this, or they're not pushed to do things like this. I see things like this and it breaks my heart, because these people want better lives, but they're going to a place that they're not invited to. And it's almost humiliating in a way. But the only way to combat and remedy this issue is to start within and fix our nation so people actually want to stay in them. Sudan was actually getting better. To some degree, the GDP was getting better. Okay, the workforce was getting better. The education system was getting better. Technological advancement was getting better. Then the UAE came in and reversed their technology and reversed their prosperity 15, 20 years. You know how long it's going to take to rebuild Sudan back to where it was and then get it to keep going, because it was already a third world country and far behind? It was Muslims who did that. Muslims destroyed Sudan. And we want to get mad at Europeans because people are pouring into their borders. We should be home and our countries should be prospering, but they're not. Because everybody's mad at Iran for defending themselves because Israel wants to overthrow their regime. And now Israel is the one behind all of this mess and clogging up the coastal city of Spain, Ceuta, and mobilizing these Moroccan immigrants or these migrants to hop the border. It's Israel behind it. It's the United States behind it. To make to make Spain pay for their diplomatic betrayal against the United States and against the Moroccan people by siding with Algeria or meeting with them, and then of course against Israel for administering a genocide in Gaza, which the world is in unanimous agreement with for the most part now. Everybody knows it was a genocide and it's still an ongoing genocide. They're still striking Gaza. So, there's so many things wrong with this from so many perspectives. And by the way, the legislation in Spain sucks too. It's super left-wing. And look what happens when you have a socialist-like left-wing government in your country. People flood into the border like it's like a bunch of ants. It's like an animal herd. And so then I say on X, oh, well, this is Mamdani's dream. And people say, you're being extreme. That's not true. I'm sorry. What does a left-wing socialist like Mamdani offer to Islamic values or to the United States to prosper as a nation? Amnesty to immigrants, giving immigrants everything they want? That's going to help the United States prosper in some sort of economic way? Open borders, abolishing ICE, no law and order? That's going to help the United States in any possible conceivable way? I don't think it is, actually. I don't think it is. How about abolishing prisons? Because that's what the congressional member that he endorsed called for, Daria Liza in New York's 13th congressional district, who just won her election. Open borders, abolish prisons, mass amnesty to immigrants, let them come in, bring them forth, let them all enjoy the fruits of our labor. Does that make any sense? And then people hear that. Now watch this. People hear that and they go, white supremacy, neo-Nazism. No, actually. No one's against immigration. We're against mass migration. We're against an open border. What's the function of a border? To protect the country's integrity, to draw out the lines of sovereignty, to distinguish one country and one nation from another, one people and one culture from another. When there's no borders, you have no control, you have no law and order, you have no government. You have nothing, especially economically is where you will pay the most before anything. And that's been the case ever since Biden finished his administration and Trump came in. He's now able to clean up 10 million immigrants. Trump came in and said mass deportations, and that hasn't happened, but is he going to be able to get rid of even 1 million immigrants, 2 million, 3 million? That is very difficult. The people who want to self-deport, who's going to self-deport? Who's going to get to this country illegally and then see the Trump administration offers a program with some sort of incentive to leave and actually be willing to do it? That's not going to work. And so the issue has already become unsolvable because of the magnitude of the issue, which is allowing millions of people to run through the floodgates of a border. And that's the situation in Europe. And so this just causes more civil unrest. This just causes more issues. And I'm this passionate because Muslims run around or Arabs run around and they say, but it belonged to Morocco. Or they run around and say, good, take it back. That's deserved. Where do we get with that kind of rhetoric? Where do we get with that principle? As I've said, that rule, that principle that every country deserves or every group of people deserve to fight their colonialists and take back the land that was allegedly theirs, even though they haven't had it for 600 years and it's been a dispute. If they could take that back, that principle warrants absurd conclusions that if you apply it around the world would explode tomorrow. There would be war everywhere. So it's just unbelievable. Our nations need to become habitable. But when you've got Israel stirring up the pot and you've got Muslim nations betraying one another to see who can kiss up to Israel the best, that will never happen. That's why I talk about Israel. Why do you talk about Israel? That's why. Because all of our countries suffer as a result of their intervention and stirring up the pot. And people fall for it. What am I doing? Am I saying fuck the migrants? Am I being super unfair and explicit? No, I'm saying this is Israel doing it. They've got a hand in it. The Spanish government is trash. The United States also supports it legislatively because they're standing with Morocco out of nowhere, but it's just in benefit for Israel to undermine Spain. And so I'm saying, yeah, this is Israel. And people say you're cucking for the whites. You're a right-wing Muslim. That's an oxymoron. What are you talking about? Because I believe in law and order and a closed border, you stupid fuck. 50,000 people jump over a fucking border wall. Yeah, that's bad. Anywhere. Can happen on fucking Mars. It's bad. That helps no one. That's not conducive to any success. That's not benefiting anybody. And this is what the left wants for the United States. So for all the people that think that the Mamdani types, the Mamdani prototype, the eventual successor of Mamdani on a presidential scale, you think that's going to be beneficial for the U.S. because he says he's Muslim, but then he walks with the pride parade? Be my guest. Watch the country fall apart. Watch the, and honestly, that's probably what's going to happen in 2028. In 2028, a Democratic candidate will probably win because the right wing has completely destroyed and forfeited all of its credibility for anybody to come out of this GOP and actually earn some talking points and earn some points in the debate stage. And so the left wing is going to win the presidential position in 2028, and they're going to open up the border and they're going to give mass amnesty, and we're all going to be cooked because we can't afford another wave of illegals jumping over the border like we did from 2022 to 2024, or 2020 really to 2024. We cannot afford that. We can't afford that again. But it's probably going to have to get worse before it gets better. And here I am, innocent me. Because I am innocent. Innocent me, who practices Islam, who prays, who fasts in Ramadan. Sure, you don't see me doing it. I practice my religion, actually. I was born a Muslim. And this comes from all the Muslims telling me that I'm cucking for some sort of group of people. Here I am saying we should close the border. Here I am saying what happened in Spain is probably not the best thing. That's not good. That's not a good look for Muslims, but that's really not a good look for the world. Not conducive to benefit. It doesn't help anybody. And everybody says that somehow that makes me some sort of skin-worshipping sympathizer. You're a fool. You're a fool. You don't understand nuance. You're invested in politics for emotions and emotions only. Does your brain function? Does it serve any utility? Do you offer any benefit to the world when you're saying things like this should happen? Obviously not. You're just a mongerer of problems. So it's beyond frustrating. It's fatiguing. It's nauseating. God forbid I give the country its fruits. Yeah, I live in a first world nation and I enjoy the fruits from it. I'm going to give the country credit for that. It's not, we should normalize appreciating the country and appreciating the fact that we were lucky enough to be born here. I would fucking end my life if I was born in Sudan. Why the fuck would I want to be born in Sudan? And any Sudanese person will watch this and say, yeah, he's right. I'm glad I was born in Canada or the UK or the US. Why would I want to be born in Sudan? I would hate my life. I would hate my life. I see my cousins there and they always tell me I'm so lucky for being born here. I'm going to jeopardize that and shit on the country. Who does that help? Who does that help? Where's the benefit in that kind of rhetoric? But that's what it is. It's this left-wing slop. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. You've been psyoped. For what reason do you hate the country? The country that gave me a job, that country that gave me economic freedom, the country that offers the most benefit in the world, the United States, some of the best healthcare. Yeah, it's not perfect. Yeah, it costs a lot of money, but we have everything we need here. And so I sympathize and I feel terrible for these people born in these third world countries. I went to Sudan when I was 13 or 14 years old. And when I was there, I was like, wow, holy shit, I'm squatting to shit in the floor and some hole in the floor. Thank God I was born in the United States. Wow, it's taking 10 minutes for Instagram to load up. Thank God I was not born here. I love my people. I will continue to visit my country once it reaches some sort of peace. Once it's no longer under threat from the evil Zionist Muslims in the UAE. Once that happens, I will gladly visit, and I enjoyed going, and I enjoyed seeing my culture and my roots and seeing my people. I loved it. But would I want to stay there long term? Absolutely not. There's really no life to live there. And the same thing goes with a lot of these other third world countries. And so all I do is appreciate the US a little bit, and then it's, you're a fucking cuck, you're a white supremacist wannabe. If only you knew how comfortable I was in my skin. If only you knew I'm another nigga, and I roll down the street playing Pooh Shiesty, and I go to the mosque, and I've gone to the mosque in my thobe before. If only you knew. But God forbid I have any semblance of assimilation. God forbid I like the country just a little bit. Now you're a white cucking, you're an idiot, you're stupid. And by the way, within Shari'i ruling, within Islam, it's recommended to try and assimilate to the land to some degree so that you do not provoke and antagonize people. You don't have to wear a thobe to work. No, you should wear a suit. That's what the Prophet ﷺ would recommend so you can fit in and not be an outcaster. Your sunnah is with your actions. Your sunnah is with your character. You want to promote Islam the right way? I'm not saying don't wear a thobe, but I'm saying maybe wear something normal and then present yourself as a Muslim. That's what I've done. And not to toot my own horn, I don't mean to be cocky. I mean this in the best will possible. I have made many people curious about Islam and come to me and ask me questions, and alhamdulillah, they've reverted. So, like, what am I doing that's cucking? I'm cucking to the whites because I've had a few people ask me about Islam. Riyadh, I see the way you do XYZ. Tell me about Islam. But I'm doing something wrong. Okay. So, it gets frustrating. And it's frustrating not because they're attacking me. I could deal with the attack all day. I don't give a fuck. This internet shit is goofy. I'm a real person. I have a real life. The reason why it bothers me is because I want us to be better, and it's just such a lost cause. It's like the same thing with black people when I talk about how they commit mass crime and how they were in Daytona Beach shooting at each other. And I'm like, guys, we got to be better. It's like the same thing with Muslims sometimes. And it's not all of them, but sometimes it's just a small group of them that have the loudest voices that say the dumbest shit, like, oh, this is good. Oh, this is great. No, it's not. We should really steer away from such rhetoric. And if you're curious as to who I'm talking to, I posted this tweet and look at the replies. I mean, can you believe people were replying to me saying this? I wasn't even going to respond to it, but I'll show it here on stream. People say, obviously, and this is what I put. I said, unnerving, no law and order, Mamdani's dream for the United States. Obviously, it's not his dream. You talk in extremes. Someone, see, all Muslims should be against this, whatever. This is literally Spain occupied Morocco. Someone says house slave. He said house slave. This is where this is happening. And then he puts the map of Ceuta, sorry. And so, you know, keep bombing their lands. Don't come crying after. Like, bro, no one's bombing Morocco. Riyadh, do you realize this is Moroccan territory? Deserved. When are you going back to Sudan? And so it's like, bro, I see this and I'm like, wait, do Muslims not agree with me? Like what? Like, oh, you're supporting Tommy Rubenstein. You're supporting Tommy Robinson. What? So It's asinine, but I made it a point to respond to that on stream today. I made it a point. And no, I see some people saying that. I'm not talking about Sneeko. Sneeko's my friend. I'm not talking about him. He rage baited. Probably not the best attempt at rage bait, but he rage baited on X. But, you know, people really think this is good. And I tell them, yeah, you're a fool. This is detrimental. So, but let's see. I have a lot of chats here. Wow, you guys are pissed. I got so many chats. Okay, let's see. Before you started streaming, Myron said that you're more radical than he is. That's not true. The day Riyad quits his job and joins Kick, we're going to hear some crazy shit. Nah, really not that. I'm not that extreme. The Moroccan shit is bad. They're giving Kuffar ammo. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. But you can't, like I said, again, you can't blame the migrants. Of course, they're going to try to seek a better life. This is the government's fault. But what I'm saying is you can't support this and say, deserved, good. All right. Like, fight fire with fire. See how that works. Why do Muslims, religious or not? Wow, guys. Okay, why do Muslims, religious or not, feel they are entitled to invade first world countries and not integrate? Not everyone is a refugee. We need to cut this out. Yeah, I mean, there has to be a limit to it. Riyad, did you catch those AI videos of Myron banishing people to the shadow realm? Yeah, I saw them. Majority of the time, the USA is responsible for, and that's from Mr. Ferdinand, Mr. Clapcheeks, and Unknown. Thank you, guys. And then also Walid. Thank you. Nick, thank you for the 2. Unknown says, majority of the time, the USA is responsible for Muslim immigration. You bomb and kill our people, then complain when we enter your lands. I've said that before. But this is different than people immigrating because their country is being destroyed. There's nothing wrong with Morocco right now. Aside from the fact that it's incredibly poor, it's not being brutally occupied militarily. It's not under siege. It's not receiving some aerial assault bombing campaign like Gaza is, or even Sudan to some degree is, or the West Bank brutal military occupation. These people do have some sort of peace in their country. And so it doesn't warrant them to flee like this, the same way you can make that argument for Sudanese people going into Egypt, as which I said earlier. So that's the difference. But yeah, of course, the United States is always bombing the Middle East, and I've always vocally and viscerally condemned that. Obama in 2015 with Syria and Libya, and then Trump with Iran, Trump with Iraq. I've always highlighted these things, and it's the government you have to blame, and this government is trash. The MAGA administration, Trump will go down as the worst president probably in history. One of the worst. He will be top 3. Guarantee you. Once it's all said and done with, he will be one of the worst, if not the worst. Unknown says, Isa, Jesus will destroy the cross. Huck, yes, this is true. In the end times. Madara Nut. Okay, I got to stop reading these names. Here comes the Western Muslim explaining it. Oh, the evil Muslims' lands is their land, co-parter. Tell Sneeko all day, let's not talk about Islam. Then always on the unbeliever side, attacking Islam. You're dumb. You're dumb. If you watched if you listened to everything I just said, I addressed all the things you voiced. So you just got to use your brain a little harder. You got to use your brain a little bit harder. Everything for you is like just, oh, it's emotions. Oh, it's you're siding with the kuffar. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm highlighting that 50,000 people hopping a border is not good. And that land technically at this point right now, diplomatically, doesn't belong to Morocco on paper. So we shouldn't send 50,000 people in there because that's an act of war. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. And by we're not even the ones doing it. Israel's doing that. And if you were listening, you would have heard that. But you weren't listening. If you were, it wasn't with your brain. You were listening with your emotions. Nick says, W content, thank you. Wallahi, victory is promised to the Muslims. It is, but not right now. It is. We need the Mahdi. We need Isa. Sagno Sprite says, I miss you. Hope you have a good weekend. Thanks. Thanks, you too. My bro speaks nothing but the truth. Thank you for the 50. Appreciate that, my friend. Cade Shigi. He will cry all day. Is this the same person? Okay. He will cry all day, America for Americans, but look at this by our own Muslim side now. It's not Africa for Africans, and now it's not European. No, please look at the Arabs and the GCC like, what a slave. What are you talking about? I don't even understand what you just meant there. He will cry all day, America for Americans. I never said that. I said I'm pro-immigration. I said there's no problem with immigration, but since I'd say 2010, it's actually had diminishing returns. Really, since 2015, 2018, it's had diminishing returns. But I'm not anti-immigration. That's how I got here. Who said I'm anti-immigration? I'm anti-mass migration. I'm anti-10 million people coming into the country without papers in 4 years. Something that my parents didn't do. Good conflation, though. Good way to convolute what I said, but really bad attempt. It's cute, though. And then you also said, now it's not Africa for Africans, and now it's not European. You're just dumb, bro. You're just dumb. Really not smart. And I knew, look. Here's the thing. Here's the thing, by the way. I knew a lot of people would be mad and not understand what I'm saying. That's fine. If you agree or you disagree with me, that's totally fine. You guys know I keep my chat pretty loose. I don't shadow run people for disagreeing with me. But if you're like super hell-bent and you hate me now, good riddance, goodbye. Because you're dumb. Good riddance. I hope this was a litmus test. I hope this was a filter. If what I said was somehow offensive to you, if what I said was wrong, if what I said was siding with the whites in some crazy, strange way, which I think I over-explained, honestly, goodbye. I don't need dumb people watching me. Get the fuck out of here. You're going to cry, you're siding with the non-Muslims. No, I'm siding with what's right and what's wrong. What's right is people go to lands that they seek to venture out for economic gain and a better life. They want to do that. They do that right, the legal way. They don't break the law, internationally or nationally. That's all I'm saying. And I'm somehow some race cuck. Okay, goodbye. Get out. Because you're probably an idiot anyways. So, late Nepo tax, but we here. Riyadh, you got to start hitting these boys with the tax. Thank you for the 5. Red Pill Clipper, W Riyadh, thank you. Appreciate that. Let's see. W Sneeko, yes, long live love speech. Here's the thing, you know, people, I knew people would get mad. Oh well. Oh well. I knew they would cry. I knew they would get mad. That's why I made it a point to be very explicit. So that if anybody still finds a way to cry about this, goodbye. Goodbye. We don't want a left-wing government in the United States that opens borders. We don't want ICE abolished. We don't want Mamdani running the country. We want law and order. We want a proper country with proper systems and proper functions. That's why we can enjoy it. Because it's worked that way for tens of thousands, for hundreds of years. Any civilization, any country, any people that prosper typically don't just let tens of thousands of people into their land in one shot. That doesn't work. There's no integrity to that. That ruins the structural integrity of the actual land that's being invaded actually as a result. So, you know, if you have a problem with such what I think is a balanced and fair approach, no problem, goodbye. You can disagree with me and still watch, no problem. People do that all the time. But if you're going to like say I'm a Western Muslim cucked by the GCC states, bro, I just condemned the UAE. I just condemned the UAE. I've actually condemned Saudi Arabia, which is really risky before. Where do you think you're going with that? I'm not paid. I'm paid. I have a full-time job, dumbass. Riyadh's paid by the Zionists. I saw somebody say that on X. Bro, I just got onto the streaming scene and I still have a full-time job. I'm paid by the Zionists. Okay. That totally makes sense. Totally makes sense. And I know there's a lot of Muslims that agree with me, but really, we've got to nip this in the bud. This is low IQ behavior. Can't flood into a country and expect no one to be mad about it. That's nuts. So anyways, we'll take a look at the situation in Iran. I thought I had another chat come in, so I'll quickly read it. But yeah, that's that. Anything I'm leaving out? No, I think that's really it. See, I disagree with you, but I still mess with you, and I mess with you. Okay, so you know what? We'll have fun here. You're condemning Moroccans for something your parents did. Okay, my parents swam in the water and then hopped the border wall illegally? Okay. Or did my parents wait their turn to legally enter the United States, and then when they did it, they didn't encroach upon people, make them change their way of life, respected the country, and still practiced their religion, and now they had me and my brother, and they still love the country, and they're Muslim, and we love Sudan. Oh my God, those all can exist at the same time? Yeah, they can. So, no, unfortunately, my parents actually followed the rules. They came here legally. Sorry. And look, I'm still telling you, I don't blame the migrants. Of course you're going to flee a shitty life like that. Of course you are. It's on the government to close the borders. But of course, Israel's got a hand in it. And this is what Israel wants, okay? If I sit here and I support, this is important, let me note this. If I sit here and I support this mass migration, I'm supporting Israelis. Do you know who else is happy about the mass migration? Ben Gvir. Ben Gvir is saying he's happy about this, and he's happy for the Spaniards to take in the Moroccans. Go Morocco, go Spain. Why are they happy about it? Because they know how pissed it makes the Europeans. They know how pissed it makes the people who are native to that land. Why would Muslims want to side with the Israelis? They're literally making us a bioweapon. The Israelis are telling the Moroccans, which they shouldn't have control of, let's open up the floodgates and send all the immigrants in and then piss off the white people. And the Muslims go, yeah, that's our land. No, don't do that. That's exactly what Israel wants you to do. Stupid. You are literally being a good slave and a good bioweapon. Yeah, take it over. That's our land. Okay, but Israel actually was the one who told Morocco to open up the floodgates, obviously, to make Spain pay. You're going to sit here and say that that's a good thing when it's beneficial for Israel? And so now the whites and the Muslims are fighting again, and Israel's happy about it. We lived in a time after October 7th where everybody was on the same page with the anti-Israel rhetoric. It's a genocide in Gaza. We've got to fight back. We've got to support our people. And everybody was on board. And what have the Israelis done to combat this losing propaganda? They've been losing the propaganda campaign. They've been losing the media war. Charlie Kirk explicitly telling Netanyahu in a letter before he was assassinated, you need to fight back on the media war. What do you think this is? They're winning in the media war now because all of you Muslims are sitting here saying, yeah, go attack those native lands. Take back what's yours. Okay, that helps the Israelis though, dumbass. So you care about Gaza, you care about the West Bank, you care about Lebanon, you care about the Golan Heights in Syria, you care about Yemen, you care about all these countries that Israel's attacking. How about you don't support the mass migration of 50,000 people into a land that's not theirs? Oh, but it's Morocco though. Yeah, but that's not what the paper's saying. That's not what the diplomatic relations have reflected for the last 600 years. Where has that invasion been in 600 years? And by the way, it just doesn't happen to be North Africa. That small strip off of the coast of North Africa actually earns you European citizenship. And so they can go anywhere in Europe, which is likely what they'll do after they're given amnesty by the far left president. So does that not sound like we're being used as a bioweapon by Israel? And they say, no, but you're against Moroccans. And it's like, wow, you're so stupid. So it's crazy. It's crazy I even need to explain these things. Unbelievable that I even need to explain these things. But it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Let's see what's going on in Iran. Let me get this ready for you. Then if you have a super chat, you can send it in now before I get into this topic, just so. Because if we're on this topic, I don't want to get into Iran and then go back to it. Let's see. I have a video.
The last 24 hours have seen.
But we'll give that a second. And we'll read an article. Let's see. W. Riyadh, thank you, Red Pill Clipper. Red Pill Clipper says, can't wait for the day you get on After Hours, bro. Will be a great show. Thank you. I appreciate that. Sorry if you mentioned this before, but thoughts on Trump saying he's running again? I'm worried people will vote for him, but do you take it serious? No, I don't take it serious. That won't happen. Trump will probably be impeached before he even gets the chance to do that. Trump is also just a liar. Like, what does he not lie about? Trump says he's running again. Trump says the war in Iran is over. Trump says he's winning the war. Trump says he controls the Strait of Hormuz. He's just a crazy old man waiting for his day. So, Kabat says, let's see, how come you always attack Muslims in Sneeko, but never Nick, who says he loves what Israel does and wants to do it himself? Okay, yeah, you're seething. When did I attack Muslims in Sneeko? Let's see. This is the foolishness. Tell me when I attacked Muslims in Sneeko. Tell me when I attacked Sneeko. When did I attack him? I've never condemned Sneeko. I've never attacked him. What are you talking about? Then he says, but never Nick, who says he loves what Israel does. Nick's never said that. That's another thing as well. I don't think... See, here's the thing. Nick says he wants America to kick butt like Israel. and people think that's him saying that he's pro-Zionist and he supports Israel. Nick blew the lid on Israel from 2017 till now. So that's just not true. Him saying what he said about the prophet, no, I don't like that. Of course I don't like that, and I condemn that. But what do you mean I said that or you're saying I'm attacking Muslims in Sneeko? You're out of your mind. So, anyways, Unknown says, I tear up thinking about the state of the Ummah. And that's what I always talk about. And everybody wants to subvert and say, you're glazing whites. And I'm like, okay, I'm talking about how the Muslim world is fractured to the point of no return right now. And everybody's telling me that I'm cucking for whites. Okay. It is what it is. But never have I attacked Sneeko, ever. And I won't. So, aren't Sudanese illegals bioweapons, Riyadh? You're stupid. You're really dumb. Sudanese illegals where in Egypt? Egypt welcomed them in. They're not illegal because they faced a military occupation from the UAE. Did you know that? You're dumb. You don't see, this is the problem with you dumb fucks. You niggas don't know how the world works. You simpletons don't get how the world works. You think you know what you're talking about? Sudanese people being used as bioweapons against Egypt? That's Israel trying to undermine Egypt? Egypt is in close relations with Israel. Egypt has been cucked by Israel. The Oslo Accords, all the different agreements throughout the 90s and the 80s and the 70s. Egypt has been a good cuck for Israel. They do everything at the behest of Israel. Reluctantly or not, they do it. Israel is going to get the UAE to invade Sudan so they can punish the Egyptians with Sudanese bioweapons. No, UAE wants gold. The UAE wants natural resources because oil is not going to be the hottest commodity anymore. What country in North Africa very close to the UAE has tons of gold that has been untapped? Sudan does. And so what happens just after that? They mobilize the RSF to go to Chad, land in the Chad airport, and then go right across the border into Sudan and invade it. And it's been that way for 4.5, nearly 5 years now. And so a bunch of Sudanese people are offered amnesty by the Egyptians and to come in and seek safe conduct. And that's a bioweapon. A what? No, that's a Muslim country destroying another Muslim country. And you're stupid. Congratulations, you're dumb. I won't shadow ban you. Feel free to still chat whatever you want. That'll probably be the last thing I interact with because I think I lost IQ having to explain that. But that's the problem. Niggas hear my takes and then I get pushback, no problem. But the pushback is like, okay, so you don't even know what's happening. You're not even on Earth. You push back on my point and it's like, is he serious? You know when somebody like tries to give you a rebuttal and then you hear the rebuttal and you're like, are they dead ass? Like, did they say that? Whatever. Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. Anyways. I had some more chats. Tyson. Hold on, I'm pulling these up now. Like the video, please, if you have not already, by the way. Shout out to all you guys. Okay. Mr. Ferdinand says, did you catch Nick complimenting you and Myron again? Yes, I saw it. Red Pill Clipper apparently pushing back on Sneeko's points is attacking him. Me and Sneeko disagree, but I would never attack him. It's just not happened. We have our debates. We have our discussions. And many things we agree with, many things we disagree with. That's it. It's that simple. Unknown says, please do a stream talking about Ibn Taymiyyah. That's very niche. I don't have the expertise to talk about Islamic scholars from... I mean, Ibn Taymiyyah, Sheikhul Islam, right? But I don't have the expertise to do a video that gives that justice. That Tyson Hockley guy says Sneeko betrayed him by criticizing him. Why do dumb people think criticism is betrayal or an attack? It's not, disagreements are okay. Okay, I'm not familiar with that situation. Kabat says Muslims by all day attacking Arabs. Sneeko by always arguing with him. Wasting time taking anti-Islam take. Not one word about Nick. Not one. Okay, Kabat, you're like weird. You've super chatted in like 4 or 5 times now trying to get me to fight people that my brother is allied with. You're a goofball. You're a goofball. You're an idiot. So it's like this is the display of no ability to think. All day I talk about Israel. All day I risk my fucking job talking about Israel. People think that I'm paid by Myron. I'm a Myron Trust Fund baby. I'm not. Why the fuck do you think I have a job? All day I talk about Israel. All day I talk about controversial issues. I talk about politics. And people say, you're bought and paid for. You're cucking to this group. You're not actually telling the truth. You're omitting something. You're a fucking idiot. You're an idiot. Do you know how risky it is to do what I'm doing when you have a full-time job? I'm on YouTube. You think I'm like on Kick? This isn't Rumble. I'm on YouTube. I'm walking on thin ice with the shit that I cover on this channel. Thin fucking ice. And people still find some way to vaguely point at the fact that I'm like cucked out and not calling out all of the issues. Okay. Okay. Yeah, please. Good riddance. Goodbye. Guys, we've got to be smarter. We've really got to be smarter. I expected the pushback, but I expected high-level pushback. Not this. Not this. So, whatever. Whatever. But it is what it is. Okay, so we'll read this article. See where we're at here. All right, so this is the latest situation with Iran, and this is definitely not a good one. This just deepens the issue far worse than it ever was. So Saudi Arabia has announced a mission to form an international alliance to guard the Red Sea from attacks on shipping by Iran-backed Houthis in Yemen. Dozens of countries have been invited to join the coalition, and late on Thursday, Saudi Arabia said 13 countries had agreed. The Houthis imposed a maritime blockade on the kingdom on July 20th, disrupting oil shipments diverted to the Red Sea following the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. Reports have also emerged that they plan to impose tolls on shipping passing through the Bab el-Mandeb Strait off the coast of Yemen. Tensions along the Red Sea shipping route have further hit global energy prices and supply lines as severe disruptions to Gulf exports through Hormuz continue to reverberate. The new Saudi-led alliance is set to have its headquarters in Riyadh and could be unveiled as early as Thursday, according to reports. Here's what else we know. So a part of the coalition, it consists of Turkey, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, Jordan, Egypt, Pakistan, Djibouti, Somalia, Bangladesh, Yemen, Sudan, and the Comoros are understood to be the signatories to the alliance besides Saudi Arabia. Neither the UAE nor Oman have signed up. Interesting. Despite having similar security objectives amid the conflict centered on Iran. The door remains open for other countries to cede the coalition's charter after completing their national procedures, a Saudi Ministry of Defense statement said. And so we have a video here. We can take a look at it. But yeah, that's pretty much what's going on. For a quick explanation, there was a 13-day back and forth between the United States and Iran. Trump had paused this because he was expecting a meeting from Netanyahu, which had actually happened earlier this week, I believe on Tuesday. That's when we covered it, my brother and I. And then right after that, Iran had actually struck some U.S. military infrastructure, or at least, they attempted to strike it, but it didn't succeed because the missiles were intercepted by the United States. I think this was at Jordan, at the Muwafaq Salti Air Base, which is where 2 soldiers were previously killed anyways. And so Iran likely did this symbolically to show that they still hold the cards, they still have escalation dominance, and they're not going to let Netanyahu subvert Trump back into war, and they're not fearful if that's where that goes. And then, of course, the United States responded by hitting Iran again, bombing them very hard. Iran responded by hitting these Middle Eastern countries again, like the GCC. And now we're noticing that the GCC is far more involved in this war than they ever really planned on being involved. You know, these Gulf Arab states are just not nearly as willing to remain on the sidelines anymore, and so they're becoming involved. We saw the same situation with Oman. Oman has always been a neutral country, but now even Oman is trying to take away some of the control of the Strait of Hormuz with the help of the U.S., and that's what prompted Iran to start up this second offensive by the U.S. by hitting those waterways, or hitting those ships in these waterways not designated by Iran. So it's a situation pretty much where we're fighting for control of the strait, and under no circumstance will Iran capitulate or give that up. And as I've said many times before, that's because the strait is their greatest strategic weapon and point of leverage against the United States. Without that, there's no way they'll be able to defend their own sovereignty or have control or be able to deter the United States. And so they're going to fight very hard for that. But we can look at the video here. And this is the problem with the United States as well. This is something that comes to mind. The U.S. is really straddling the line of like deterrence versus full-on war, because, and it doesn't help with Trump's conflicting statements. We're going to destroy Iran. We're open to talk. Iran is begging to talk, and they're not. Then he meets with Netanyahu. Then we bomb him again. And it's like, are we back at war like we were in March? Is this Operation Epic Fury? Or are you just trying to deter them from the Strait of Hormuz? Because to get Iran to seize their control of the Strait of Hormuz, you have to destroy them. You're not going to be able to bomb the coastline and take control of the strait. If you do, that's going to take years. Or that's going to at least take several more months, at least another year. And that's not realistic for this administration. They can't survive that long, this administration being in this war. The United States is already running low on interceptor missiles. And we have to offer that to our Gulf allies that are receiving retaliation strikes from Iran. As well as the fact that Israel is not even involved. No one's even said this. Israel's not fighting back at all. Israel is sitting back, kicking their feet up, and the United States is toe-to-toe, tit for tat with Iran every single day since the beginning of this month. Israel's done nothing. And the financial minister of Israel, Smotrich is his last name, he said in a statement about a week and a half ago, oh, well, we'll just let the United States continue. No reason for us to get involved now. I'm sorry, this is the war you wanted. This is the war you dragged us into. This is the war that you joined us in striking Iran with and killing the supreme leader on day one. Now you're not involved after all your intelligence to kill all of the high-ranking military commanders. Now they don't want to be involved. And that's because they want to focus on Lebanon. They want to focus on Gaza. They want to focus on the West Bank. Israel is fighting several different fronts at once, trying to annex land and encroach upon borders and break more international law. They don't need to be dealing with Iran. Iran's too powerful. So they'll let the United States deal with that alone. And so think about how much of a cuck and idiot Trump is. Trump started this war with Israel, believing Netanyahu's false intelligence report that it would take 4 or 5 days. It's been nearly 6 months now. And Israel's not even fighting with him anymore. And Israel's actually able to direct their attention on all the other projects they've been deeply concerned about while we fight their biggest enemy and attempt to regime change them. And people are saying, but it's not regime change. We just want the strait back. If we get the strait back, then the fence is wide open. Why not go for regime change if you're Donald Trump or anybody in this administration? This country and this faction, the IRGC, just embarrassed you for 5 months. They're going to try and change the regime if they control the Strait of Hormuz. Because if Iran can't leverage the Strait of Hormuz over the United States anymore, and we take it back, nothing stands in the way of us actually destroying the country. Because they can't fight us back with economic pressure. The only thing they can fight us back with is missiles upon our Gulf allies, but that's something we may actually want to deal with on a long-winded scale because we have interceptors and maybe we'll be able to offer protection and maybe we can change the regime a little bit more quickly. But if they control the strait, the United States has to walk on nails or walk on eggshells. So, you know, the whole fight for the strait is making this a brand new wave of conflict. It's making this war far more long-winded than Trump ever planned on it being. And this just comes from the fact that the United States was not prepared to deal with the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, and we underestimated their coastline military logistical infrastructure that can get into the strait and clog it up and scare these vessels from passing through. It's only 21 miles at its narrowest point. So it's really not hard for Iran to use their deep stockpiles of missiles and deep stockpiles of drones to impose a threat and keep these oil vessels from passing through. And what do? We block their blockade. Okay, they have the Caspian Sea. And this is a country that's been sanctioned for years anyways. I'm sure they can navigate the situation. So, and what is Iran doing to the United States right now? All they're doing is just making it more expensive for us. Iran's not fighting the U.S. to defeat them. Here's the difference, and this is what's even more embarrassing. We're fighting Iran to completely change the regime and or at minimum take back control of the Strait of Hormuz, which means taking their greatest weapon away, which would motivate Israel to change the regime because they don't have a nuke yet. Allegedly, they don't. And what is Iran's motivation to fight? Obviously, besides them fighting an existential threat, Iran is just simply trying to make everybody hate the United States, and they're doing a damn good job. Iran is simply fending back, trying to make everybody hate the United States, trying to make everybody hate the president, making life expensive here. People think that like Iran is some primitive country where people don't understand what's happening in the world. They all pay attention to Truth Social more than you do. The Iranian people see Trump saying on Truth Social that we're going to send Iran back to a stone age, and they're the ones that get riled up and tell their government to go harder. There's been a rally around the flag effect now because Israel and the United States are destroying their nation. And on the first day, we killed 100+ schoolgirls in Minab. Innocent schoolgirls in pursuit of some military commander due to faulty intelligence that Trump lied about on Air Force One. Pete Hegseth ended up cringing at the fact that he was lying about it, because it was a Tomahawk missile, it was a U.S. munition. And so all Iran needs to do is just survive and make everybody hate the president. And it's been very easy. And now Saudi Arabia is scrambling and panicking because of the pressure that they're feeling from the Red Sea being clogged up by the Iranian proxy Ansar Allah belonging to Yemen. So now all the resistance groups are involved. You got Hezbollah in southern Lebanon fighting back against the IDF, dealing tons of casualties to them, refusing to give up anything south of the Litani River. They're still trying to push back and take control of their strongholds that Israel is trying to destroy as I speak to you now. And then you got the situation with the Houthis where they're involving 13 countries now to try and get back control of the Strait of the Red Sea and the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, because Saudi Arabia is saying, hey everybody in the region, come help us. The Houthis are not letting our oil export go through, and if they stop that, we don't have the Strait of Hormuz. We won't make any money. Because what the situation was when Iran initially blocked the strait in March was that Saudi Arabia could circumvent the issue and have their westward moving pipeline export oil through the Yanbu port on the Red Sea coast out of Saudi Arabia and bring that oil south into the Indian Ocean. Now they can't do that because Hezbollah has mobilized and attacked only Saudi vessels exclusively, and largely they're going to model the same shit that's going on with the Strait of Hormuz and clog up the Red Sea and the Bab el-Mandeb Strait as well. And so it's like that's another 12% of global energy. And Trump, what progress has Trump made? We've made nothing. CENTCOM has made no progress. So, and by the way, we have 50,000 plus troops ready to mobilize in the region. This just brings us closer to a boots on ground element because nothing is giving. Nothing is giving. So do we see a Karg Island invasion? I don't know. At this point, anything can happen. Anything can literally happen. And that's what they've been able to do. You know, Iran has way too much control right now. They have I keep wanting to play the video, then I keep yapping. Iran has so much control right now. They control the energy markets, not us. You see the number at the pumps, the fact that it's so much more expensive for you to get groceries now, to pump gas, everything is followed in price in terms of increasing. Interest rates are going up, or interest rates are staying still, but they're certainly not going down. And everything else. You think Iran doesn't know they have control of that? They do. They block the Strait of Hormuz. You're fucked. The Houthis block the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. You're cooked. There's no utility for the Suez Canal now, at least for Asia. So it's a really dire situation, honestly, and it just continues to get worse. I want to come on here and say, okay, guys, we might be cruise control now, but it's just not the case. It's not the case. Let me read some super chats very quickly. Let's see. I think I read this by Kabat. He said, yeah, I read that already. One Chest says, nice backdrop view. Okay, he super chatted the same thing in twice. Very. Oh, my fame. Talk about Israel. What? Kabai, you're losing your mind, buddy. What are one or two reasons do you think people choose to be fat? Because they're lazy. Because they're lazy. They have no motivation. Get with our official trainer for the community, One Chest. Go ahead and pop your link in there and I'll pin it for you, my friend. Get with the trainer. You want to get in shape? Hit up One Chest. I've seen several dramatic transformations. The man, the myth himself. Drama says, W. Riyadh, Myra, and Nick and Sneeko, respect to you, my brother, for standing firm and giving us the content you do. Thank you for the 5. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. MD says, W, you are cooking tonight. Thank you for the 2. Look, I just gave my opinion. Everybody thinks I'm being divisive. This is my opinion. So, it is what it... Guys, can we not do a fight in the chat? Are we fighting in the chat? Yeah, I knew this would be divisive. This is why... And look, when I do the news, when I'm covering politics, when I'm going over certain events, there's certain things that everybody's so aligned with. And so I already know everybody's going to parade me and say, you're a hero for covering this, Riyadh, you're so right. And then there's other times where these conflicts are very divisive. There's other times where not everybody agrees. I'm still going to give my opinion. And that's what the reality of this is. So a lot of Muslims are mad at me. It is what it is. It is what it is. I'm not saying anything against Islam. Obviously, that'd be kufr. This is all political, but they can't extract their emotions from it. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do?
In the war widen, this time to Egypt, where a drone hit the port of Damietta, setting 2 ships there on fire. It's the first time that country has been targeted in the war. No one has claimed responsibility, and today Iran's foreign ministry urged vigilance against what it called false flag operations designed to undermine regional peace. The foreign minister also warned Cyprus and Bulgaria against allowing the U.S. to use their bases to launch attacks on Iran. In another sign of expanding hostilities, Saudi Arabia, for the first time in this war, joined the U.S. in a strike against Iranian-backed militias inside Iraq.
How big is this getting?
bigger and bigger, and it's moving.
Pause. I had to. I'm sorry. I know I got to grow up, but that was crazy.
Almost inexorably toward the west. Think a Western front. We talked about that in World War II. Here it is, the Red Sea, the Suez Canal, owned and operated by Egypt, strikes on Jordan. And the Iranians are also threatening NATO partners, saying, whatever you do, NATO partners, don't allow your bases to be used for.
Ivan Lil says, what's up with the zesty plant? It's zesty? What? It's not zesty. What do you mean? The plant, this is a zesty plant? It's nice. It's actually there to cover up the plugs and stuff. There's like a little outlet right there where the sign and the other stuff is plugged into, so that's why it's there. It's zesty. What? It's literally, bro. It's a nice plant. What are you talking about? Cute little plant. Not zesty. It's fake, though. No, something fell from it. It's fake, so. Yeah, we don't water plants here. I don't got time for that. Literally the nicest plant. How is this zesty? Whatever. Hater. I think it's nice. I think it's perfectly aesthetic, actually. It's for the hoes. No hoes here, bro. If only you knew. If only you knew. Cover your aura. I know, bro. I'm not supposed to stand up. Okay, I'm sitting here chilling. Don't haram police me. I know the shorts are crazy high. I came back from the gym. I'm like sitting down. They all crunched up. Not supposed to stand on a stream, but people are calling my plant gay. I gotta fight back.
Or strikes against us. So we're seeing a kind of inexorable movement to the west here.
I need a new chair. All right, guys, stop rage baiting me. This chair is fine. Well, oh, there's a bit of a tear in it, actually. This chair is literally fine. What do you want me to get, that cringe streamer chair? This is literally fine. Where were we? Okay. Never mind, them shorts is zesty. Thanks for the 2. Sweaty and black. I'm literally not sweating. Okay, if someone else rage baits me, I'm quitting. I'm ending stream.
Brianna, and it's very worrisome. Here's the play. The Iranians are pulling in as many of the Arab states as they can, hoping that they, the Arab states, will turn around, put pressure on the U.S. to pull out. I think it's going to backfire on them. And I'll close with this. I am seeing pretty credible reporting that the Saudis are trying to put together a coalition of Arab states in order.
Gang, my shorts are not that short. You niggas, look, they're riding up. They're not that short. Yeah, they're above the outer. I know. I got to be better. They're literally not that short. Gains, though. See the gains? Okay. Enough hate. TLF, by the way. Now, I know they should be down here, though. Haram, I know. They should be. There's different opinions about the aura. I think some scholars say the midpoint of the knee is where you're good, and then others say it's got to be the whole knee. I think above the knee bone, though, is you're cooked. So let me stop doing that. I went to the gym, okay? I went to the gym. Came back here, worked, hopped right on stream. So, what are they saying? Myron's even shorter. Yo, Myron be wildin' with the shorts, bro. You know I'm not going to roast him. It's fine. Zestball. Yeah, very funny. Get a Herman Miller chair? Bro, honestly, I like my chair, man. My chair is fine. My chair is literally fine, bro. Let's see. Yo, I'm being distracted from the video. It's like, bro, you know, guys, honestly, somebody commented on my video the other day. He goes, bro, Riyadh, I love you, but this Iran shit's getting old. I said, nigga, I know. I said, bro, I know. I said, bro, you're telling me. I cringe every time I have to say Iran, Strait of Hormuz, Houthis, Bab el-Mandeb Strait. I don't know why I just went Netanyahu voice mode there. But, like, it's so, trust me, I know. No one told Trump to be in a war for 6 months. That's all the news is. What else is there to talk about? That's why I went hard on the Spain shit. I was like, finally, something else to talk about. But there's dead ass nothing to talk about. It's been a dry few months in the news. Ain't shit happening. But trust me, when I see Iran, I'm like, ah. So I was like, I don't even want to finish this video, but we got to do the news. We have to finish the video. But trust me, trust and believe, I'm the last person that wants to sit here and keep going on and on about Iran. I want it to be over just as much as you do because I don't want this war to continue. This is Israel's war. Of course, it's negative for so many reasons. We've gone over that in nauseum. But really, it's just because, gang, can we switch it up? Can we talk about something else? You know? In the beginning of streaming, back in March, when I first started, you know, ICE was getting into conflicts and stuff. And so I'd get on here and cover the story with, like, ICE and Renee Good. And, like, these were very divisive topics, but they were juicy. You know, they were like, I'm not saying people dying is juicy, but I'm saying, like, it was, you know, it was like hardcore domestic news. Like, oh shit, what's Riyadh gonna say about this? Now it's like Iran. Everybody knows what I'm gonna say about Iran. So,
back on this Red Sea challenge they're facing. So I don't think this is going to work for Iran, but that's the game they're playing.
And you also are looking at Iran reiterating the Strait of Hormuz is going to remain closed. You have 14 mostly regional countries
Drama, thank you so much for joining the Riyadh squad. Appreciate that.
Backing that maritime defense alliance that's supposed to protect the shipping routes, the global trade. What does the future of global shipping through all of these regional waterways look like in your view?
You've put your finger on why all this matters beyond the pretty obvious day-to-day impact on the global economy of shutting down a major strait. Why it really matters is, broadly speaking, are we going to preserve freedom of the high seas? Are we going to preserve transit rights through straits around the world? Are we going to protect our Suez Canal, Panama Canal, and other areas of the oceans that are so crucial to trade? So I think, again, you're going to see Iran's efforts here backfire. It'll lead to the coalition that you and I just talked about of Arab states. But what I'm hoping for, Brianna, is the Europeans who, after the United States and perhaps China, had conflict.
And speaking of Europe, Iran's foreign minister actually warned two European countries, Cyprus and Bulgaria, against allowing the U.S. military to use their bases. How much ability does Iran have to back up those kind of warnings?
Limited, but not completely benign, meaning if you look at the ranges of their maximalist ballistic missiles, in theory, they could reach all the way to Eastern Europe, Bulgaria, or into the Eastern Mediterranean, where the nation of Cyprus, not a NATO member, by the way, but a European Union member, sits. So again, Iran is pushing at the Arab world to the west. Now we're seeing them push toward the European world even further. Ultimately, I think this will backfire on the mullahs in Tehran. I hope it does.
Today, China's foreign minister dismissed reports from Reuters that Beijing is sending 300 to 400 shoulder-fired air defense missile launchers to Iran.
Cyprus and Bulgaria, two countries I did not think I would hear in the midst of this war.
That's according to the country's state-run news agency. U.S. intel had indicated that China was preparing to deliver new air defense systems to Iran. So I think that there was this expectation of that. That's what CNN's reporting has been. What kind of concerns does this raise for you? What does this look like?
It's not just the package of potential shoulder-fired missiles, whether that's a good piece of intel or less assured. But what it ought to worry all of us is if China is going to line up alongside Iran to the degree of providing military-grade hardware or even, Brianna, components that go into it, that's extremely worrisome because it gives Tehran a lifeline. It's the phone of...
Yeah, so let's see what else we have here.
Help. If you have those Asian allies that need the strait to be open, you have Europe partially dependent on Middle East oil.
And so this is the big thing too. I was waiting for them to get to this. My Lord. Took them forever. So very, very simple here. Okay. Pull out the map. The Myron Classic. All right, good thing I wasn't screen sharing. That'd be a crazy docs. Give me one sec. All right, so here. All right, class. Here we have the Middle East. Okay. Anyways, so look, the Strait of Hormuz is here. IRGC is clogging this up. 20% of the world's oil supply. This is the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. Leads out into the Indian Ocean or the Arabian Sea. Okay? And if this gets clogged up, that's another 12% of the world's energy supply. But more importantly, this is the only way that Europe can do any sort of trade with Asia. Otherwise, they'd have to go all the way around Africa. This is why that man-made passageway, the Suez Canal, was created in the 1900s. I think 1950, right? And so now you have the Houthis threatening the Red Sea. And they've targeted exclusively only Saudi vessels. Okay? And these Saudi vessels are coming from Yanbu, which is currently being bombed by the Houthis as well. So they're bombing the ports, and they're also trying to clog up any of the shipping in the Red Sea and the Bab el-Mandeb Strait that leads out into the Arabian Sea for India, Pakistan, any of these other countries trying to receive oil and or energy from the Red Sea. And so you could imagine that several European countries will suffer from this as well. And if that happens to be the case, well, then maybe there's going to be some involvement from their side as well. That's why you've seen several other countries that you would have never imagined being involved in this conflict siding, and this is all diplomatic, I must admit it's a paper tiger, but siding with Saudi Arabia and opening back up the Red Sea, like Djibouti and several other countries that we haven't heard since this war has started. And now Iran is making vague threats to Cyprus and other European countries like Bulgaria. And so that makes one wonder, man, is this war do we have any end in sight? And the answer is absolutely not. Not until Trump lets up the offensive and gives Iran every reason to de-escalate rather than escalate. But when Netanyahu's in the White House planning something with Trump, well, then obviously the anxiety in Iran raises, because the last time Netanyahu visited the White House, their supreme leader died. So that's kind of the very brief and simple explanation of what's happening now. And Saudi Arabia is also fighting back. They're bombing Iraq with the United States now because there's Iranian proxies there, and we know that's where they're located. The Popular Mobilization Forces and the rest of the proxy network is being fought by Saudi Arabia, as well as the United States and Israel as well, dealing with them. So lots of issues, very complex, fast-moving war, a lot of things happening at the same time. But overall, what we can safely say is there's likely no political off-ramp anytime soon, unless somebody drops their ego and or pride, which will likely not be Trump. So that's that. Where are we? Kuwait will be taken back by Iran? I don't think so. Anyways, let's see if we have some chats. Just got one. Mo Camera says, Spain invasion reminded me of Yajuj and Majuj. Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. I saw this too. Isn't this funny? I saw this too. Take a look at this. Like, bro, I know this is boomer slop, but it's like, this is actually so true. Okay? Like, this is boomer slop. This is real life boomer slop. Like, the goofy AI meme. But that's exactly, like, that's literally so true. And then I think Anna Kasparian actually commented on this as well. And she said it was Israel. If I can find that, which I thought was interesting, right? Let's see if we can pull that up here. Oh, and this is Trump threatening Spain earlier this month, what I was referring to earlier.
They're members of NATO, but not very good members of NATO. They say, no, we don't want to help other people. What are we doing, huh? They are not behaving nicely, but they will learn.
Guys, that's not my audio. Okay, so I'm just going to blare this.
Soon after they relinquished their grip on Cuba and Guam, the Philippines and Puerto Rico, and they were all ours. We got. And
then Netanyahu actually had a statement against Spain as well about a month or so ago. And let's see if we can find it. Now it's in Hebrew, I believe. Of course it is. But regardless, it's worth pulling up. And this is from, let's see if I was right. This is today, but he posted this today, but this was a while back. Anyways, Netanyahu threatened Spain. Spain defamed the IDF. Or was this today? I don't think it was. Spain defamed the IDF, the most moral army in the world, and they repeatedly opposed Israel. I cannot tolerate this hostility without them paying an immediate price. Israel will not remain silent in the face of those who attack us. Spain has defamed our heroes, the soldiers of the IDF, and the soldiers of the most moral army in the world. Therefore, I have instructed today to remove Spain's representatives from the coordination center in Kiryat Gat after Spain has chosen repeatedly to stand against Israel. Those who attack the state of Israel instead of terrorist regimes will not be our partners. Regarding the future of the region, I am not willing to tolerate this hypocrisy and hostility, and I do not intend to allow any country to wage a diplomatic war against us without paying an immediate price. And there was also legislation signed earlier this year, I think a few months ago, if I'm not mistaken, where Morocco and the city of Ceuta was formally recognized to be Moroccan territory versus Spaniard territory. And just so conveniently, of course, now we see what happened. Happened real easily. And it happened with the help of the Moroccan government. So you got that as well. Let's see if we can find Anna Kasparian's statement on it. I think she just retweeted that this is obviously Israel. And she's super anti-Israel, so of course she had something to say. So let's take a look at this. This is interesting. Mario posted this. She retweeted over it. Coincidence. Back in April, Israel's Ynet ran an op-ed by Moroccan journalist Amin Ayoub, basically saying Israel should help Morocco take back Ceuta and Melilla. The pitch, let's reward Morocco for the Abraham Accords and punish Spain for its stance on Palestine and for clashing with Trump on base access and missed NATO spending targets. Trump had already called Spain terrible, and a Pentagon email even floated, suspending them from NATO altogether. NATO's own rules don't cover the enclaves as they sit in Africa, essentially leaving them exposed. The article leaned hard on Michael Rubin's earlier piece from March. Rubin called for Ceuta and Melilla occupied Moroccan territory and floated New Green March, the same mass civilian flood Morocco launched in 1975. Send people, bulldozers if needed, walk in unarmed, raise the flag, simple as that. He noted the enclaves are already a soft spot because migrants rush the fence all the time. And so, let's see, we can read a little bit more. Ynet said Israel, now a formal military partner of Morocco, could help by calling Spain's presence colonial. Colonial. Israel calling Spain a colonial occupier. Okay. Lobbying Washington to side with Rabat, which is the capital of Morocco, and then pointing out Spanish hypocrisy on territorial issues. No need for tanks, just sustained demographic and diplomatic pressure. Fast forward to yesterday, up to 60,000 people crossed into Ceuta in about 24 hours, more than half of the city's population. That's the exact kind of mass pressure those pieces were talking about. So, again, you know, we try not to be too much of conspiracy theorists here, but just some food for thought. So this is interesting. Sunset right now. This never happens, so I've got to move this way. But yeah, it is what it is. Anyway, let's see. Thoughts on The Dark Knight? Good movie. Christopher Nolan did a great job with The Odyssey as well. And by the way, this is how you know you just can't please everybody. The other day, hold on, let me fix this. There we go. The other day I was talking about The Odyssey and how it was a great movie, and everybody's mad at The Odyssey because of the fact that there was like a little bit of multiculturalism in there, but I'm like, bro, get over it. It's 2029. It's a joke. I know it's 2026. And then some dude in the chat was like, disavow, unsubscribing, you're a piece of shit. That was supposed to be a white movie. And I was literally like, good riddance, you're a weirdo. So you just can't please everybody. You can't please everybody. It is what it is. But anyways, that's really all I have. Quick 2-hour stream. I think it was about 2 hours, right? Give or take. Just a little bit over or a little bit under. But that's it. Scrub back if you missed it. I know a couple of you guys jumped in here, but there's really nothing else for me to cover. A little bit more of a passionate stream. And look, people are going to disagree. People are going to fight me. That's what comes with the territory. That's the nature of this streaming business, I guess, especially when you talk about politics. So no problem. It is what it is. But to all of you guys that watch, whether you agree or disagree with me, love all of you. Appreciate the support. It's been a great run so far, and inshallah it continues. Keep it going on YouTube. Hopefully keep it going on YouTube. But other than that, that's all I've got. Let me see if there's any other chats. I don't think there are, right? I'm not missing out on anybody. All right, perfect. Looks good. All right, love you guys. Have a great day, a great Friday night. Be safe if you plan on going out. Don't go out, just stay inside. Love all you guys. Have a great rest of your night. God bless.